Thank you so much for clicking on this video. You are truly appreciated. The purpose of this channel is to educate, inspire, entertain, and hopefully make a contribution to your creativity. Welcome to Art Party Now. I'm John McLane, the artist, and today we're going to draw another one of my all-time favorite characters. Maybe because the first art award I ever won back when I was 7 years old was for a drawing I did of this character. Or maybe it's just because he was known as a troublemaker. The amazing avian with near perfect comedic timing and a laugh that makes the angels cry. I'm talking about Woody Woodpecker. So if you want to learn to draw, if you're entertained or inspired by watching artists create, or if you simply love art, you're definitely in the right place. So let's start the party. All right, so as you can see, I've got Woody all sketched out in red pencils on 18 by 24 inch brilliant white paper. I've got my supersized Sharpie for the outlines, fine point Sharpie for the details. I've got my blotter paper underneath to keep the Sharpies from bleeding through onto the next page. So make sure you stick around because this party's not just about how to draw a few lines, it's about how to turn an animated character into fine art. So if you want to draw along with me, right now would be the perfect time to get out your materials and get set up. Or if you just want to grab a bowl of ice cream, put your feet up on the couch, and enjoy the party that way, that's totally cool too. So let's rock and roll.
So we're going to start with Woody's eyes and draw two oval shapes that connect in the middle, leaving a gap in the bottom right where we'll draw Woody's beak. Then we draw a curving line from the center of the eyes to the tip of his beak, another curving line for his smile with a little cap on the end for the corner of his mouth, a little line under the tip of his beak, and two curving lines on either side for Woody's cheeks. Then we draw two more ovals inside the eyes for his irises, and two small circles with the fine point Sharpie for the highlights in his eyes. Then we switch back to the supersized Sharpie and draw a wavy line on top of Woody's left eye, a longer wavy line from the edge of his right cheek, and connect the top of those two lines with a sawtooth shape to complete the crest on top of Woody's head. We'll use the fine point Sharpie again to add a couple of eyebrows above the eyes, and then Woody's face is done. Then we switch back to the supersized Sharpie and draw two vertical lines for Woody's neck and connect them with a diagonal line that slightly overlaps. We draw two vertical lines curving down on both sides of his neck, a little curve on the right to define Woody's shoulder, and then connect both sides using the same sawtooth motion to complete Woody's hackle. Then we draw a line going down and up for the top of Woody's arm, with a little semicircle on the end for the cuff of his glove. Then we draw Woody's thumb and index finger, a little loop for his second finger, a curly W shape from his palm to his pinky, and two little lines to define the bottom edge of his fingers. Then we draw a line for Woody's right shoulder, which bends at his elbow and loops back up at his wrist. One more line for the bottom side of his arm, and a little tiny vertical line inside the elbow for his back. Another semicircle on his wrist for the cuff on his glove, and I know hands are hard, but we'll do this the same way. A bump on the right for his thumb, and a slightly longer line with a loop on the end for his pinky. Two little loops, same shape as the pinky for Woody's second and third finger, and a little curve in the center for his palm. Next, we draw a big oval shape from the edges of Woody's hackle to the bottom of his right glove to define the center of his torso. Another line just to the left, and then we can connect that line to his cuff with a soft V shape to complete the bottom side of Woody's left arm. Then we do two J-shaped lines from his hand on the right and his belly on the left, and connect those with an upside down Y shape to complete Woody's legs. Then right from the bottom of his ankles, we draw two what I'm calling inflated heart shapes to complete Woody's left and right foot. And the final move to complete our character is to draw two thin tail feathers just below his right hand that get a little thicker towards the end.
All right, so there's our finished simple outline of Woody Woodpecker. So I'm gonna go back and darken some of these lines in. So stick around because this is where the fun begins.
If you've joined us for any other art parties in our cartoon collection, I probably sound like a broken record, but the key to mastery is repetition. So when I simply say darken in my lines, I'm actually referring to the much more in-depth process of line quality, where I'm widening specific lines in the character to create the illusion of shadows and weight.
All right, so there's our completed outline of Woody Woodpecker with black Sharpies. So if you've been drawing along with me, right now would be the perfect time to smooth out your lines, make everything just how you want it. And if you're that person with your feet up on the couch, eating your bowl of ice cream, don't even think about going anywhere, because coming up next is the most fun part of the party, where we bring Woody to life with color. So let's go.
In our initial phase of coloring, we're masking the inside edges of all our black outlines with color before we color in the rest of the open spaces, which is an especially important technique to keep our black outlines from bleeding into our brighter colors, like the red in Woody's crest and the yellow in his beak, as you'll see when we get to the next step.
All right, so that's about all I'm gonna color in on Woody Woodpecker for right now, because as always, I'm gonna see if my 3-year-old daughter May May wants to finish coloring this in with me. So make sure you stick around for the rest of the party, because who knows what could happen next. All right, so I'm actually really proud of May May here, because she was actually able to color in the entire blue area on Woody's body and stay within the lines except for one little slip right here. So I think for a 3-year-old that's pretty darn good. But since there's this little slip, I'm actually going to use it as an opportunity to show you that, as Bob Ross always says, there really are no mistakes in art, only happy accidents. But if you do put down a mark that you don't like, when it comes to marker drawings, what I've found is the best way to remove those marks is just using a white paint pen and kind of dab it over it. And if you do it correctly, it should be pretty invisible. All right, so as you can see, the white paint pen trick made that stray line virtually unnoticeable. So what I hope you'll take away from this is that you should never panic when you think you made a mistake doing any form of art, because there's always a way to adjust it, correct it, blend it, and keep moving towards your ultimate vision. So now that we got that problem solved, the rest of this Woody Woodpecker drawing should be a piece of cake. So because Woody is all primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, I've got a deep red, a phthalo blue, and a standard yellow that's a little bit darker, like not a lemon yellow, but more like a slightly orangish yellow. So let's rock and roll.
In this phase of coloring, I'm trying to avoid contacting the black outlines while also making sure all of my red lines are following the natural flow of the feather pattern in Woody's red crest.
I don't know if you can see this, but even though I had the edges of my outlines masked with color,
I still experienced a little bit of bleeding from the outline and the colors up here and over here and a little bit here and here. I just want to show you that nothing is perfect. Like once that happens, it's really hard to fix it without messing up all the color. So I'm just gonna leave it alone. But having my outlines blur into my colors was something that I really struggled with when I was younger for many, many years, which is why I talk about my color masking technique so much on this channel. So I just wanted to share that with you before we continue. So let's keep it rolling. Now I'm gonna literally hold my breath as I finish coloring the yellow in Woody's beak and feet, because these two sections have the potential to either make or break our results. Okay, so I was extra careful not to touch the edges of my outlines with the yellow, because black edges bleeding into yellow is probably my ultimate nightmare when it comes to working with markers. So I got lucky this time. Somehow managed to beat the system. So now all that's left is to finish darkening in this blue. So let's do this. Now I'm just hoping that the blue I chose is dark enough to fill in all the little cracks in Maymay's color, yet light enough that we'll still be able to see all of her original marks. All right, so there's our finished drawing of Woody Woodpecker. So make sure you stick around for the final reveal. See if you can spot any of the little mistakes I made. Make sure to check out all your favorite characters in our cartoon library, and we'll see you at the next art party. This episode of Art Party Now is brought to you by DaVinci Tees. Click the link in the description to order yours today. Thank you so much for joining us at the art party today. If you had fun or learned anything, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel. Drop us a comment if you have any requests for future episodes, and click this link to keep the party going.